Here's another reason why I struggle to trust white people. I was at Home Depot today and, I had an associate glazing the fuck out of me like they do. It happens to us all the time. So I took the opportunity of her proximity to just ask her for help because I didn't know where everything was. And she looks at me and she goes, "Well, why are you buying all this stuff? It's the landlord's responsibility to fix things in a rental." Ma'am, what did you say? And because I know that some of you are going to attempt to explain to me what she really meant, here's my question for you. Why didn't she first assume that I might be the landlord? Do you know what I'm saying? Why is her first assumption that I am the renter? Do you know what I mean? And I was so pissed off. But I don't have the privilege of being pissed off. I did have the satisfaction of saying, well, I'm a homeowner, so there's only one person who's going to be able to do it, and watching her shrivel up. But, I just paid for my shit and I walked out. And it's these little microaggressions, right, that build up over time where you can't quite prove the racism because other white people are going to attempt to gaslight you and explain it away. But it is racism. And that is why I take it on a case-by-case basis. And I don't want to hear y'all say, I'm sorry and that sucks and I apologize on behalf of white people. I don't care. I'm just letting you know that, once again, this is an example of why I think the way I think.
Get out of here! Get to the back of the bus! You ain't know what you're saying. That's not good.
I'm Dr. Michael H. Ford, and let's talk about what you just saw. A white woman is holding a black baby, smiling and laughing. Then she uses phrases tied to exclusion and segregation. Almost immediately, the baby stops laughing. The energy in the moment changes. And then something important happens. The young white child nearby speaks up and says, "That's racist." Now, to understand why that response matters, we need to talk briefly about one phrase in particular: get to the back of the bus. In the United States from the late 1800s through the mid-1960s, racial segregation was enforced by law under what were known as Jim Crow policies. On public buses across much of the country, especially in the South, black riders were required to sit in the back, stand when seats were available, or give up their seats to white passengers. These were not social preferences, they were legal requirements. In 1955, that system was publicly challenged when Rosa Parks was arrested in Montgomery, Alabama, for refusing to give up her seat. Her arrest led to the Montgomery bus boycott, which lasted over a year, and became a major turning point in the civil rights movement. In 1956, federal courts ruled that bus segregation laws were unconstitutional. So, when someone says get to the back of the bus, those words are not neutral. They reference a real period when black Americans were legally pushed to the margins of public life and told where they were allowed to exist. Children don't need to know the dates or court cases to feel that shift. Tone, power, and context are enough. What stands out here is how quickly the children respond. One child feels the change emotionally, another recognizes that the language itself is wrong. This isn't about intent or blame, it's about understanding that words connected to real history still carry weight, especially around children who are learning what fairness looks like. Healing starts with knowing. Follow for more.
It's time to stop falling for the trick. Most people have never heard of this quote from President Lyndon B. Johnson, but it might be one of the most honest things any U.S. president has ever said about racism. He said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Now, LBJ wasn't talking about feelings. He was exposing a system. It's a psychological trick that has been used for centuries to convince poor white Americans into supporting policies that harm them. Racism has always served as a distraction, a smokescreen. While the working class is taught to resent or fear black people, immigrants, or marginalized communities, they completely overlook the real cause of their suffering: the wealthy elite robbing them blind. This tactic still works today. Just look at what's happening right now. Republicans recently passed a massive domestic policy mega bill loaded with tax breaks, not for everyday people, but for billionaires, venture capitalists, private schools, and even rum manufacturers, all while slashing social programs, blocking healthcare access, and attacking public education. But instead of demanding answers or change, many working class white Americans are being told that the problem is wokeness, DEI programs, immigration, or black history. That's not an accident, that's strategic. The goal is to keep people emotionally enraged and racially divided, so they never organize around their shared economic interest. That's the real con. Racism isn't just about hate, it's about control. And as long as people keep falling for it, they'll keep voting against their own future. Not because they're evil, though many of them are, but because they've been lied to. And think about it, the lie has been profitable for the people lying to them in broad daylight. So next time someone just tries to tell you that racism is just a cultural issue, just remember it's actually an economic tool used to divide the working class, destroy solidarity, and keep power in the hands of a few.
I don't trust white people. I don't trust white people for a multitude of reasons, but one of the main reasons is they're unpredictable. Like, I think about all the times where I really considered white people my friends, and then when we got in a small argument, they released all the racism they hid throughout our whole friendship. Scary. And then I think about the fact that I become mutuals with people, give them the opportunity to come clean about any problematic past, they say nothing, and then they get exposed for being racist. And it's never like some low-key, like I used to say the N-word in songs. No, it's like N-word hard R against black people. Like tell me why white people are normalizing racist past. Also, I think about the fact that white people have continuously, when given the opportunity, oppressed multiple marginalized communities. And I think about the fact how easy it is for them to do it again. Like, if they really wanted to, they would bring slavery back. They kind of already did with the criminal justice system. Plus the rate of hate crimes. I will legit always be scared of white people until they're the minority, which I hope will be sooner than I think.
A second ago, did you say you fight racism with racism? Yes.
Okay, first off, horrible camera angle. Secondly, you can't fight racism with more racism. And yes, black people can be racist, and this is an example. Imagine if a white person made this same exact video. They lose everything. Is that not privilege and power? And I understand. A lot of black people have PTSD when it comes to this, but you can't judge or not trust a whole race based on the actions of a few. As Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. Somebody got to be the bigger person in this situation, or we're just going to keep perpetuating the hate and the divide between all of us.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm racist. I mean, if that means that I'm racist, then so be it. But me personally, I just severely do not trust white people. I don't trust white people more than I don't trust black people. I don't trust people in general, but I have a severe distrust of white people, even more than black people. Because there's always this little racial bias or racial hint behind it. That's exactly why, like, I would never date outside of my race, bro. After, I used to, I would never again, bro. Fuck no. Fuck no.
When black people in our community talk about not trusting white people, the white people in our community know that as a group, white people ain't trustworthy. So they don't internalize that. Like, oh my God, are they talking about me? Nah, because they feel the same way.
It's the people that don't see it.
Yeah, the not all white people who just would not fit really well. Because if you internalize everything as an individual, that's your privilege. White people are the only people in this country who have the privilege of not being seen as a group. They expect to be seen as an individual. So when people talk about white people as a group, white people get uncomfortable because they want to be an individual.
Not all white people,
right.
Many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but they're so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
We came in chains. We came in misery. Now all our suffering and pains are part of history. We came in chains. We must remember that, for that and that alone explains exactly where we are at. We came in chains, and how our blood was spilled together with our sweat. It stains this nation we helped build. We came in chains. We came as living loot, so you could boast slave-gotten gains. We've grown beneath your boot. We came in chains, we didn't volunteer, and yet today the fact remains we're still held captive here. We came in chains, now we say cut us loose, though that may go against your grain, still there's no excuse. We came in chains, now who will bear the cost till every one of us regains the freedom we have lost? We came in chains, and now your choice must be to either blow out all our brains or else just set us free.
I just saw a post that this white woman put a caption that said, working with black women is working in the trenches. And then she stitched the video with a black woman saying that working in the trenches is working with white women. And she's like, oh, She can say this, but I can't say that. Correct. Correct. The black woman has every right to call out white women. You know why? Because racism is still alive and well. Black women still experience more oppression than you as a white woman will ever experience. It is not reverse racism. It is not the same thing. Reverse racism, not a thing. White oppression, not a thing. This is where intersectionality comes into play, right? You as a woman could be oppressed, but you as a white person, no, not a thing. However, a black woman experiences duality in that sort of oppression, correct? A woman and a person of color, correct? And truthfully, you proved the black woman's point. If the post wasn't about you, you wouldn't have gotten upset.
So this lady asks, this black lady, are white women really that scared of black women? And I'm going to say yes. And this is my opinion as a white woman who is 53 years old and has lived in the South in Georgia in my entire life. But it's not being scared, but it's a fear. And it's not a physical fear. It is the mental fear. It is what we see in you and what we see you doing and how it challenges us and the fear of that. So we see black women and we see how strong you are. We see you coming together as a community. We see you supporting each other. We see you supporting your community, supporting your families, supporting your children, going out and fighting for your rights, being authentic in your race and in your femininity. Anyway. And we're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire lives. And I'm not giving white women a pass, don't get me wrong, but I know I and most women have been told, white women have been told our entire lives, be quiet, know your place, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, don't be too much. And when you are any of those things, you are ostracized because you have rocked their boat. And that is what black women are. You rock our boat, our mental boat, because you challenge us to look at how we are deficient and not living in our truth, and it makes us uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable. And it makes us start to question ourselves, and people don't like to question themselves. We would rather live in our little bubble of white supremacy and what we know and comfortableness. I know that's not a word. Than a lot of people would, white women would, rather than challenge themselves to grow and know more, because it's easy. Doing the work is hard. It's really hard. I've been doing the work the past several years, and it's hard. It is hard admitting some truths about yourself and some truths about yourself as a white woman. So yeah, I think that white women are scared of black women because you challenge us in that way, and a lot of us don't like it. And that's why we fear you. It's because we fear what you make us face.
Why do most black people not trust white people? Let's talk about it. Let's get into it, because you may have heard some black people say, hey, I don't trust white people. Nope. I don't mess with them like that. I don't trust white people. And you may have thought to yourself like, wow, that's racist, right? You may have said that to yourself like, wow, that's really racist. It's not, by the way. It's prejudice. It's not racist. And I've had videos talking about the difference between racism, discrimination, and prejudice. So you can go back and watch those to get some clarity on the differences between those three words. They are not interchangeable. They are not synonymous. So no. So make sure you just educate yourself about that. But anyhow, let's talk about that though. Because if a black person is saying, well, I don't really trust white people like that, why would they be saying that? Where is that coming from? I'm going to let you know. I'm going to break it down for you real quick. So pay attention and watch this video all the way to the end, okay? Now, have you ever been in a relationship, okay, where you're with somebody and they're telling you, I love you, I care about you, I want to be with you, and you find that throughout the relationship, their words are not matching up with their actions. Like, you just said that you love me, you care about me, you want to be with me, but yet you're doing these things that are giving me a completely different message, right? I talk to you about different issues, different behaviors you're engaging in that I don't like, and I ask you, please, let's don't do that. Let's stop that, because that's causing a problem in our relationship. It's causing me not to trust you. So let's stop doing that and do this instead. And you're like, oh, I feel you. I got you. I love you. I care about you. I'm not going to do that anymore. But then you still keep doing it. Saying one thing with your mouth, but you're doing something else every day with your actions, and they're not lining up. And what does that do? It causes a schism, right? It causes division. It causes a lack of trust. And so when you hear Black people saying, I don't trust white people, I don't mess with white people like that, it's because there has been a schism. There has been a division, and there has been a breach of the trust. Because what a lot of white folks have done, if we just only look at the past 4 years, forget about history. That's a whole other thing. Just let's look at the past 4 years since 2020. So many self-proclaimed white allies were saying, Black Lives Matter, and yes, for equality and equity and reparations, and we're standing against racial injustice, and we're fighting against white supremacy culture and all this stuff with their mouth, right? Maybe on social media. And then what happened with their actions? Their actions weren't lining up. That's why I'm always telling you, don't talk about it, be about it. Let your actions speak for themselves. You don't have to go around telling people, I'm not racist. I may be white, but I'm not racist. What are you talking about? We don't need you to tell us. Show us. Show us through your actions. That's how we'll know you're not one of those, right? It's about your actions, not your words. You have to make a decision to become an active part of the solution. Otherwise, you're being a passive part of the problem, or an active part of the problem, right? So you can't sit back and be like and say, well, hey, I didn't do anything. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not racist. It ain't me. It's them. It's just those people. No. Doing nothing is a problem, because then you're allowing things to happen around you. So even in doing nothing, you're doing something, and that's causing a problem. And that's why Black people don't trust you, because you say, oh yeah, I care about you. I support you. Equality. Yeah. Black Lives Matter, whatever. Let's just treat everybody equally, and let's just be loving, and let's not talk about what divides us and what separates us, but let's just focus on what brings us together. Well, that requires a certain level of action and a certain type of action from you as a white person, when you are the beneficiary of the same systems of oppression, anti-Black racism, systemic racism, white supremacy culture, that are harming us, that are killing us, that are holding us back, that are oppressing us, that are marginalizing us, that are discriminating against us. But you're saying, hey, I didn't do anything. I'm not doing nothing. Hey, it's not me, it's them. That's not helpful. We don't trust you because you're not an active part of the solution, and your words are not aligning with your actions. So it's time for you to do better. You want to build trust with us? You have to do that through your actions, not your words. But where do you start? You start with anti-racism education, so that you can learn the things that you've never learned before, that you weren't taught growing up from your family, that you have not been taught in the racist school system, education system in America. You have to educate yourself first. That's where it starts. I want you to join me for my live online masterclass. It's happening this week. How to embody anti-racism in your relationships, your work life, and your daily practices. It's an online masterclass. You can join me live, or you can get access to the replay, but you have to register now to get access. And to sign up at that link on my profile, register now. Let's go. I will see you in class.
I recently saw a video of a Black woman telling a group of white women that she will never trust them and will always be suspicious without even getting to know them just because they're white.
You know what I expect of white women? Not a damn thing. Nothing. I expect nothing of you because you have never given me anything. I can't trust you.
I want to explain why I am totally okay with that, and why you should also be okay with it. As a white person, I have a weapon system that was built right into my skin from the day I was born, that I can use against Black or brown people whenever I want. And even though I have no intention of doing that, I could. And that's what matters. Let me explain it this way. Imagine that there are two people sitting across from each other at a table, but one of them has a weapon aimed at the other. And this person keeps reassuring the other person, saying, trust me, trust me. I'm not going to pull the trigger. I know every single other person that's looked like me has pulled the trigger, but I won't. I think anyone choosing to get up and walk away from that table and not take the chance is completely reasonable.
There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but they're so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
Nobody owes us anything. It doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how much you try. It doesn't matter how much you learn. Consent doesn't just apply to the physical body. It applies to the mental body, the social body, the emotional body. You can do everything right, and people still get to say no.
Because it's exhausting. And as someone who has done DEI work in predominantly white spaces with white folks, it oftentimes turned into repetition that started to feel like begging to be seen, begging to be respected, begging to be seen as human, begging to be given space, right? Talking about microaggressions and unconscious bias and all of that with white folks started to feel like I was asking for permission from that group of people who was never going to give me permission for anything. Intentionally or no, that is just not how white supremacy works. And so I decided that that wasn't something I wanted to do anymore. And now I focus on helping Black women in particular reclaim space, liberate ourselves, because we're never going to get permission from white folks to do it.
White friends will always disappoint you. Let's talk about it. I have a white mother and I grew up in a predominantly white city and I attended predominantly white schools. And so many of like my formative friendships and romantic relationships were with white people who did inevitably and always end up disappointing me. Within each and every one of these relationships, something like totally cataclysmic, whether small or large, inevitably and always happened, which I have now termed the Great Disappointment, which was like a moment where I felt totally let down by that person. It follows a quasi script, right? Like the person that I'm friends with or involved with is always progressive and an avowed Democrat, a person who would have voted for Obama for a third term, who is like anti-racist, who is pro-Black, at least they say they are, but inevitably they make a misstep, they say something harmful, they do something harmful that they don't even realize is bad, and then it creates this like massive gulf between who you thought they were and who they actually are. Right, like on a totally random day, in a totally random circumstance, they do something, say something that like hurts you and it like cuts you really deep and it's profoundly disappointing. And then suddenly you have one of two options. The first really is to say, hey, that like really hurt my feelings, and then have to step them through the macro or microaggression they committed and then contend with the possibility that they'll like fight you on it, or B, say nothing and disappoint yourself, right? Like in my own personal life, it was a person in my law school class with whom I thought I was really great friends, remaining silent, not doing anything when a professor said very loudly that only recently the Black students got good at law school, right? Like no one said anything, my friend didn't say anything. Or that time a very long time ago when an ex-partner like heard someone call me a racial slur at a club and didn't say anything about it, and then was confused why I was upset with him later on. Or the time during high school when I got into a slew of Ivy League colleges, and my good friend, this guy who I thought we were like really close with, he told me that I got in because of affirmative action, and no one else blinked an eye, right? Like it's these profoundly sad, disappointing, confronting moments where someone that you trusted says something really harmful, and then suddenly you feel otherwise. You're totally different from them, and maybe they don't understand you at all. And these moments, which happen like all of the time, I'm sure, to you, and they've happened to me, are insidious precisely because like the white person doesn't really know that that's what's happening, right? Like because these micro and macro aggressions, these moments of racism don't happen to them ever, they're totally blind to them. They don't see them happening and they don't know what they are or what they mean. So when you call it out, they're kind of like, okay, whatever. This recently happened again, and I'm wondering as I deal with it, if that's something that you've dealt with too. All right, love you lots. Bye.
One of the biggest realizations I've had as a Black girl who grew up in predominantly white spaces is the fact that A, a lot of your white friends are actually racist, and B, a lot of your white friends are complicit with racism, benefit from it, or are too comfortable with racism to ever say anything. I started to come to this realization during the BLM protests, and this theory has been even furthered with the ICE raids that are currently happening right now. And this complicitness comes in forms of A, having that racist boyfriend that says the N word and is like so awful and will absolutely do nothing about it, or B, never standing up for anything, never saying anything. I'm not asking you to be like a civil rights leader, this, that, and the third. But a lot of white people are very, very comfortable with what the benefits are through racism. So they will never, ever say anything. They will continue to have people in their circle that are very, very racist people. I will never forget growing up when I went to the mall with this girl and she told me something. She was like, I'm so happy you're not like the others. And then I asked her, what do you mean by the others? And she was like, other black people, like always sagging their pants and just like the way they act and just this, that, and the third. I was appalled. And this is somebody I thought was like a really good friend of mine. This is so normal. A lot of white people have such biased beliefs, such stereotypes like ingrained in them. They don't even think twice about it. I find this phenomenon so interesting because it really shows that at the end of the day, a lot of humans are just out for themselves and are just going to be thinking about themselves. They're not going to speak up for you in a room full of people that look like them. That would take lots of guts. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that.
And that's why I'll never be friends with a white girl ever again. So I grew up in a very typical, normal Indian household where showing physical affection wasn't very normal, especially to your male family members. I was very much a part of the team of like side hugs. That was the most. As I got older, I only really associated things like hugs to relationships, like romantic relationships. And then a few years ago, I was in a friend group and it was mainly white people except for like one person. And my ex-best friend, who is a white girl, she created this running joke where it was Arsh only hugs guys she wants to sleep with. Because I didn't feel comfortable necessarily hugging my male friends. Like I didn't really see the need for that. I hugged my female friends, but even that was kind of like I'm going out of my comfort zone to do that. And she kept saying it over and over and over and over and over again. It made me feel gross and like shit. Why am I being made fun of not wanting to hug someone I don't feel romantically connected to?
Did you know that white women were 40% of the slave owners in the US? So when black women say they would choose a bear over a white woman, this is one of the many reasons why. And keep in mind, women couldn't own a bank account until the 70s. Women couldn't own their own business until after I was alive. Without having a whole lot of rights, women were still 40% of the slave owners. And if you need more examples, during my time at corporate America, all of my biggest haters and dissenters were all white women. Okay, not the white men, white women, because we were taught that there's only so many positions for women at the top and we had to fight each other for them rather than there being competition between like everyone at the company. Women felt like they had to fight between themselves to get those spots. The majority of my biggest bullies in life have been older white women. Okay, and a lot of times those have been in work environments where I have been actively pushed down by other women. So the next time you get your panties in a bunch when a black woman says that she trusts a white man over a white woman, just try to remember some of these examples.
So hello good people, welcome to this episode, The Dokistan. In this video, these are moments that make you pause, not because it's loud, no, but because it's revealing. A phrase gets said, the mood shifts, and before any adult steps in, a child does, a child that matters a lot because it shows how every person fearlessly and harm are felt. Even before people have the language to explain them, kids do not need history lesson to recognize when something crosses a line. It's called an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. They sense it. That's why moments like this aren't just jokes, and why what we say around children matters more than we like to admit. The saddest part of my racial commentaries is that it hasn't changed in the past 50 years. Muhammad Ali was making the same point in 1971. I sat down with Bereka to discuss our past election thoughts. Which folks gonna do what white folks gonna do. And the white folks who are the community with us at virtual already know that I don't trust white folks preaching about God too. Mike Epps said while preaching, said, what we all think, some sermon sounds more like control than salvation. When we look at history, I think that black people have valid reasons not trusting white people. When you look at slavery, also Jim Crow, during the time of segregation, when you look at historic injustices, when you also look at redlining, when you look at police brutality that happening up to now, I think the black folks have several reasons not to trust white people at all. They said they can't trust white people. So folks, as you are watching, let me know what you think on the comment section, then come with more commentaries. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for following me. Let's reach 1,000 subscribers. Bye.